Hello and welcome to the 100% United podcast. 3 Premier League points in the bag as we set off to Barcelona. I'm your host TC, and here's my co-host Scott. Hello, buddy.
Hello, mate.
On today's show, we celebrate a return to winning ways, 2-1 victors over West Ham on Saturday, and then we look ahead to tomorrow's date with Destiny at the Nou Camp. Another vintage United comeback is needed to progress to the Champions League semi-finals. First, what do you think, Scott? Was that hard-fought win at the weekend enough to send us off to Catalonia with a spring in our step?
Yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? I thought that we, in the end of it, I thought we maybe deserved all 3 points. It was definitely hard fought, though. It was just good to see us finally get back on track.
It was indeed, but it was very hard fought, wasn't it? West Ham was superb on the day, I thought.
They were. Some dodgy defending here and there made it a bit more difficult for us. All's well that ends well.
Yeah, we were forced into changes, weren't we? So we started off with obviously De Gea in goal, Dalot, Smalling, Jones, Rojo for the first time this season. Fred, Lingard, Pogba, Mata, Martial, Lukaku. Now, Solskjaer subsequently said that he would not have made so many changes if the Champions League game wasn't coming up. What do you think of the guys that stepped in?
I think you could definitely see that Rojo hadn't played all season. I think he was a little bit off the pace. He is a rash defender as it is, and when he hasn't played for 6 months, it certainly shows. I thought Fred was great again.
Yeah.
Pogba seems to maybe getting back to his confident self, we'll say. I actually thought Martial was pretty good, and Juan Mata was pretty good as well.
Yeah, they were. I thought Martial was certainly bubbling back into form. Certainly sort of throughout the game, he seemed to gain fitness almost and finish very strongly as well.
He did. I thought that the link-up play between him and Lukaku was pretty good to see. I often find those two don't really play on the same wavelength, but they seem to certainly be playing well together on Saturday.
Yeah, it was much more like it, wasn't it? And as we say, West Ham they had a fair handle in the game. They started pretty well, didn't have it all our way. And then that was a Stonewall penalty on Mata, wasn't it, on 19 minutes, Scott?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to say it was. I think a lot of people will say that it was outside of the box and was a fair challenge. It's one of those decisions that I think will definitely be reviewed by VAR next season, and whether or not it's confirmed as a penalty is another question.
I did say it tongue-in-cheek, of course. But at the same time, yeah, that's a very good point. When it's a sort of decision, a borderline decision like that, VAR comes into play, and it's just another opinion, isn't it? You've got the ref's opinion, and then you've got another opinion from a slow-mo.
Well, yeah, definitely. And the placement of it is key, right? Like the foul sort of maybe started off outside the box and then ended inside the box. And so it's to the referee's discretion as to where he's going to give the foul.
Well, effectively, you'd have to say that the ref should play advantage and then give the penalty rather than a free kick, because obviously you'd rather have a penalty than a free kick. So in that situation that the foul continues, we've seen it before, haven't we, where shirt tugging starts outside the box, goes on inside the box, and they give the penalty. But I'll be honest with you, Scott, I was joking. I didn't think it was a penalty at all. I thought Mata stepped across him. If anything, Mata fouled him. And yeah, no, I didn't think it was a penalty at all, but there you go. I'll take it every day of the week. And then Pogba kept it simple, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, I think that now he's even phased the goalies, right? That the goalies think that a 17-step run-up's coming, and so when he just goes full speed up there, the goalkeeper didn't even have time to move.
Absolutely, it was nice to see, and we'll discuss it in a bit more depth later on. As obviously we know, he had another one later on in the game. It hardly sprung us into life. I'd hardly say that we were all over them after the penalty. Evened it up a little bit, but it was still pretty 50-50. It wasn't up to half-time, Scott.
It was. I actually think that we were chasing the game a little bit in terms of possession. I think they were taking advantage of having more possession than us, and if anything, the better chances.
Well, yeah. I mean, throughout the game, they certainly had just as many, if not more, chances. Well, they've certainly had more, but it's just about the quality of them. They certainly had the fair share of the game, and then obviously coming out after half-time, they got their reward. Felipe Anderson at the far post, as you said, Rojo off the boil after being out of the team for the whole year. Lost him at the far post, and De Gea didn't really stand a chance, I don't think, with that one.
No, I think it was actually a pretty smart finish, but I would have liked to see the cross be closed down a bit more, and they shouldn't have been allowed to even get the ball in the box.
Yeah, and then we can go back further than that. And I will just have to say that I absolutely love De Gea. I think he's the best goalkeeper in the world, because I've actually criticised him a few weeks in a row, haven't I? But I'm going to do it again because that throw out wasn't good enough. When you throw the ball out as goalkeeper and it goes straight to their man, I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to put it into Pogba's stride. But Pogba hasn't reacted either. part of the blame's got to go to Pogba. But when you're rolling it into the middle of the pitch as a goalkeeper, for me, that's your responsibility. If you're going wide, then yeah, no, I understand that, you're playing it safe. But down the middle, you've got to get it right. And he didn't.
It's the second time in a few weeks now that he's tried the short distribution to players who weren't even expecting it or weren't ready for it. A few weeks ago, he tried to pass it out to Fred, and Fred lost control because he wasn't even expecting the ball, and we managed to concede after that as well. These quick throws to the closer man are great and everything. It helps keep possession, but they've got to be expecting the ball.
Yes, absolutely. And as I must repeat that I absolutely love De Gea. He's probably my favourite United player. And he did pull out a couple of absolutely stupendous saves later on in the game that really saved our bacon. So, but I have to pick up on it. It was poor distribution, and maybe it's instructions from Ole saying we've got to go quicker from the back, and maybe that's just sort of a bit of growing pains for the boys at the back. So yeah, Ole reacted to that goal, hauled Rojo off, and stuck Pereira on. Delo switched to left back and Pereira at right back. What do you think of that, bud?
It was definitely something I wasn't expecting, especially not with Darmian on the bench. When I saw the fullback was going to be replaced, I thought he was going to be coming on. When I saw the numbers come up, I thought he might be shifting to a back three, and with Delo playing as a left centre-back, it was definitely not something I would have predicted in a possible lineup, was having Andreas Pereira play at right back. But he actually did all right. He wasn't...
He did do all right, didn't he? He was absolutely fine. He's quite an adaptable player anyway, isn't he? He plays all over midfield. He has played right wing. So, and we obviously were, we were looking for a goal then. It was 1-1. So the instruction was to go forward. It's nice to have a player like that around, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if anything, he's a good team player. He's quite a humble character that he takes instructions very well and just gets on with it. The same sort of is to say about Antonio Valencia and Ashley Young when they were made to move to right back, and they sort of just got on with it, did what the manager wanted them to do, and made that position their own. I'm not saying that he's going to be a long-term right back, Andreas anyway, but I think that he's just a good team player who takes instructions well.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the hallmarks of Fergie's teams, wasn't it? That he had really good right-hand men who would carry out instruction to the letter of the law. And they may not have been superstars, but he had players who could always step in a variety of positions. And sometimes it was youngsters, and he'd do that as well. He'd blood people in different positions, so they weren't exposed so much. Maybe Ollie's just using those same sort of tactics as Fergie in the past.
Yeah, well, he must have seen it firsthand as well. I remember when Fergie was maybe having a bit of trouble with David Beckham at the time, and he got Ollie to come in and play at right wing. Now Ollie was not a right winger by trade or any time in his career, and he sort of came in and took the instruction well, played that position, and actually did a really, really great job. I think he's sort of just taking that lesson and teaching it now.
You made me smile from ear to ear, mate. He did do a fantastic job on the right there. It was unbelievable, popping up with goals, but his crossing was the thing. And I remember him saying at the time, he said, yeah, well, I'm normally in the box, so I know exactly where they want it, how they want it, and how quick they want it. So he just delivered.
Yeah, and again, he's just a humble enough character to go out there and play the way the manager wants him to play instead of going out there and playing his normal game. It's a great asset to have around a team, and to be honest, a great attitude to have for the manager. He's seen it all and he's done it all, and he learnt from the best, and now he's teaching those same lessons on.
Yeah, and obviously making changes within a happy squad is a lot easier than making changes within an unhappy squad. And there definitely is more happiness in the squad now. And as a manager, you get the rewards for that. You get the players taking instructions and putting the team first because they feel like the team actually exists and it's not a group of individuals.
Yeah, but let's be honest, we weren't 4-0 up and he decided to bring him on and play him right back. We were still going for the game, and we couldn't have conceded another goal. We were, in fact, a little bit shaky at the back. They had a couple of glorious chances. That one De Gea save was out of this world. It was one of the best saves I've ever seen him make.
Absolutely amazing.
But he came into a defence that hadn't looked assured all game. We were a little bit shaky, a little bit rocky. And they were definitely, and Felipe Anderson on the left there was definitely getting a lot of space and terrorising that our right side, their left side a lot. And so, Pereira did well, and I think Ollie did well to really trust him to come in and do that job.
Yeah, well, I suppose with Rojo not really doing any defending, I suppose it made sort of common sense, wasn't it, to get someone who can do a bit of attacking. So, but yes, it was a positive decision, followed by another 2 positive decisions. Just 20 minutes later, obviously we huffed and we puffed, and then Rashford and then Mason Greenwood again came on for Mata and Lukaku. Again, one of the youngsters being given responsibility by Ollie.
Yeah, it was great to see him make his home debut. I really have high hopes for him, and he has a lot of confidence in his own ability, which is always a huge hallmark of what Fergie liked to instill in his players, is just have confidence in your own ability. I was really excited when he came on. I actually thought that the stage was set for him to come on and score the winner, Kiko Makeda style.
I wish we were going for the title, Scott.
Yeah.
Anyway, he didn't, but a combination with Martial sent Martial through, and Martial getting the right side of the ball and winning the penalty there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how much space he had when he was going through. I just couldn't believe he was in such acres of space. I was worried that Rashford maybe did get a touch and it would have put him offside, but I think that was a bit more of a stone-wall penalty than the first one.
That one was Stonewall.
Yeah.
That one was a stonewaller. But yes, it was nice play. It was nice play to set him through. We don't see that often. Us springing the offside trap like that. Martial, his body position was fantastic, wasn't it? Got straight across the ball. Nothing the defender could do. Apart from bring him down. And our man Paul Pogba stepped up, kept it simple again, even better this time.
Yeah, it was definitely a great finish. And it just makes you think, what was he doing with that run up all this time, mate? Because he has the confidence just in himself, just be able to step up and smash it in. It makes you think he was just having a laugh this whole time. It's a bit frustrating to see, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And we'll get into the pens in a sec. Absolutely. But so 2-1 winners, mate. We had to hold on at the end as well, didn't we?
It was nervy, but as we've sort of learnt that games are these days, there are no easy games anymore, especially at this stage of the season. West Ham were actually all right. They played much better than I thought they were going to play.
Well, and the stats certainly say they were all right. 58% possession West Ham, 42 for us. 18 shots to 14 in West Ham's favour, 4 each on target. 11 corners to 3 in West Ham's favour.
Yeah, there was a period they were just getting them one after the other, it seemed, and you could see some cracks in our defences, and I was worried that one of those corners was actually going to lead to a goal for them.
Yes, absolutely. And to be honest, I'm not too bothered about R3. It's not like we're going to get it past the first man anyway. And fouls 14 on our side and 5 on there. So the stats certainly point to West Ham dominating the game. I wouldn't say they dominated it as much as those stats suggest. But at the same time, they certainly gave a great account for themselves. They were all right on the night.
For a home game against a mid-level club, you'd expect us to be doing much better than that.
Yes, I mean obviously we did make changes. We have got our eyes on tomorrow night's monster tie in Barcelona. Let's not mess around, mate. Me and you both know 3 points was all that mattered, and they're in the bag. So, but yes, of course, going forward, we do want to be spanking teams. But let's not forget, mate. After midweek games, in between Champions League games, even back in the Fergie years, those were the weekends we were worried. Those are the weekends we were worried. Whoever we were playing, we knew there was a chance that we wouldn't have the same intensity. So it's not a new phenomenon. Mm-hmm. You got a man of the match for me, buddy?
I'll probably have to give it to David De Gea today.
Yeah, even with the dodgy throw?
Yeah, you know, he made a mistake, but he had a couple of really great saves that kept us in the game. I think without him, that could have definitely been a game we would have lost.
Fair play, mate.
What about you?
It's a tough one, I tell you that for nothing.
That's what I mean. Like,
well, it's your job, isn't it? Yeah, it's a really tough one. I don't think Pogba did enough. Yeah, sure, he scored the 2 penalties. I mean, that's the obvious one, isn't it? If De Gea hadn't done that, hadn't done the blooper, then I'd definitely have given it to De Gea. I would absolutely. But I don't want to give it to Pogba today. I don't think he did enough. So I'm going to go with you, De Gea. You're the man of the match expert.
You're just happy I'm only giving one out today.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't even pick up on that, did I? Anyway.
I did think Fred was good as well. Fred had another great game. It's good to see him playing with a bit more confidence these days.
I should have just shared it between De Gea and Pogba, shouldn't I? Anyway, buddy, back to Pogba. So we've touched on the fact that he's changed his run-up. For the better, it appears. 2 finely dispatched penalties. Is that here to stay? What's going on?
You definitely hope so, because those run-ups were winding me up something rotten. They were making me more nervous than I care to be when I'm already nervous enough when we got a penalty.
Yes. Can I interject there, mate? Because I actually thought when he stepped up for the 80th minute penalty, I was thinking, thank God I don't have to endure that run-up in this, because that was a massive, massive penalty for our season. 1-1 at home, 10 minutes to go. We had to score. and it was nervous enough already, but with that run up as well, oh God, it would have been awful, wouldn't it?
Awful. I remember saying to you after we won away in Paris that I was glad. I was actually quite glad that he wasn't playing, because if he would have taken that 94th minute penalty with that run up, I might have keeled over.
Absolutely, but it did make me think, Scott, that maybe, so this new run up's good, but maybe the best. I mean, Pogba's an immensely talented player. You know, he can pass, pinpoint shooting, unpressured 12 yards. Maybe the best penalty taker possible is a penalty taker who doesn't have a style, who every time you don't know his style. One day it'll be the long run-up, one day the short run-up, one day a Panenka. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, surely that would be the best penalty kick taker, because these days the keepers are all doing their homework. They're all watching videos. If you've got enough things in your armoury that they haven't seen, then surely that's the best tactic, no?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. You just have to try and be as unpredictable as possible.
Yeah.
I am at least happy that he has respect the whole process and doesn't just think, well, I'm good enough that I can make this run up and make this style of penalty work, that he's maybe had enough of it. But I actually think that Marcus Rashford scored such a great penalty the one time he did do it in Paris, that maybe Pogba's looking over his shoulder that any more missed penalties and he's going to be off duty, and he can't be scoring 16 goals a season as easily.
Well, maybe. I mean, he has rescued his stats a bit. That is that's 7 Pogba pens this year. Only Ruud van Nistelrooy in 2002-03 with more, and that was only one more with 8. So 7 penalties, and another amazing stat. It's the most penalties United have ever had in a Premier League season. 12.
I couldn't believe it was 12 when you said it to me earlier. It just makes me think that, back in the day, a lot used to have to happen for us to be able to get a penalty, especially away from home. In fact, I think that there were, murmurings that we would get so many of the decisions and so much of the rub of the green at home that nothing really needed to happen for us to get a penalty. And I think that sort of played into the referee's mind, and it was even tougher to get a penalty at home.
Yeah, it went full circle, didn't it?
Yeah.
But the myth continued that we got all the decisions.
Yeah.
I think just what happens is when you're at the top of the league, everyone thinks you get all the decisions. But yes, it was a handsome return to penalty success anyway. Another moment you wanted to point out, Scott, was the Chicharito ovation as he left the field. A lovely moment for the boy.
It was great to see. It really was, and sort of backed my claims up that he would be welcome if he wanted to. I think he's out of contract at the end of the year.
He is, yes.
If he wanted to take the trip up the M6, I would not be disappointed by it.
No, one of my absolute favourites when he was at the club, Scott. Really loved Chico. He had a few great years with us, didn't he?
And what a blinding bit of business! £5 million he cost. Back in the days that the transfer fees were starting to get abnormally large, and we managed to snap him up, and he was almost a ready-made product. I remember his debut goal in pre-season was outrageous, that chipped finish.
Yeah.
And it just made me think that Fergie's unearthed an absolute gem here. And one of the sad stories that if Fergie was still there, he would never have left all these years. And it was one of those real Fergie players that I saw the regime wanted to get rid of, especially Moisey. It was really sad to see. He was a real favourite of mine and yours, I know.
Yeah, he was. And isn't it funny how things can get off on the right foot or the wrong foot? Do you remember his first goal for us?
Yeah, I do, when he kicked it into his face.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. He was a lucky player as well, same sort of way as Ollie.
Yeah.
Like, he was always in the right position, but he seemed to have luck. I know they say fortune favours the brave. He was certainly a brave player, and
he was.
Maybe it was like a reincarnation of Ole Solskjaer I saw in Javier Hernandez.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? If he'd hit it into his own face, it'd gone over the bar. It would have been all over the papers. They would have slagged him off, and maybe he would have been the next Forlan. As it was, he was a Solskjaer very light though.
Yeah.
Let's be real about it.
But he used to score some massive goals. I remember we played Chelsea at home that year, and he scored after 40 seconds
in the Champions League.
Yeah,
I remember it vividly. It was a magic moment. Went absolutely wild.
He was a great player, and he scored a hat-trick at Chelsea, didn't he? He scored the final goal and ended up being 3-3 that game.
Was that the game when Torres got sent off?
What, the one that you didn't know he got sent off?
The one I thought had been substituted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the away end, and we were having quite a day of it. And we were all singing the song Cheerio, Cheerio, giving it the large one. And I hadn't seen the red go up. And you know me, Scott, I spot everything, don't I? So for me to miss a red card, I must have been having a good time.
Especially an old Scouser getting sent off. I mean, how you missed that? I'll never know.
Unbelievable stuff, mate. Happens to the best of us, right? Incredible. And you wanted to touch on VAR as well, bud, because obviously we had a few decisions again. It's weird this season, isn't it? You've got to sort of You've got to be prepared that one match is VAR, one match isn't. In the Cup, you might be VAR, you might not be VAR. Champions League, it's all go with the VAR now. What do you think, Bud, so far?
Well, I think that they had a goal ruled out. Felipe Anderson's goal was ruled out. I think if that would be put to VAR at the beginning, that could have been chalked off as well. Mata's penalty was certainly contentious. I think that now people are just focusing on, that's going to be called back and that's going to be called back. And I personally, as I said in one of our first shows, I think that it's actually going to be beneficial for us because we're usually attacking and usually we feel like we've had some bad decisions go our way, but I couldn't imagine how many bad decisions have gone our way, and we've benefited from them. So it's tough to predict. The one thing I would say is in the World Cup when it was the first real tournament that VAR was operating, that I hated the attitude of players to rush over to the referee and do the old third umpire square with their fingers and say, go and check that out. I think that it could create a culture of players whining a bit more, and I would hate to see that. I just want to make sure every decision gets corrected, and I think that with VAR this weekend, we maybe wouldn't have got that first penalty. They could have maybe got a goal that they didn't get. It wouldn't have benefited us, but I think it's going to change the game in a lot of ways, hopefully for the better for us, but just to make things a bit fairer.
Yeah, and I mean, we're certainly not complaining Champions League wise at the moment in terms of VAR, because obviously we got the rub of the green in Paris, if you like, and VAR will be in play tomorrow night, and that moves us quite nicely onto it. Buddy, are you thinking that was enough on Saturday to propel us positively into tomorrow?
No, I'm not. I think we could have played a lot better. I think defensively we could have been a lot less shaky and had to expend a bit less energy would have been great. But I'm always confident in our lads. I think last time Ole was at the new camp, we all know what happened. So maybe he's got a bit of a lucky charm in there. But I would have liked to at least see us score a couple more goals, play a bit better, and obviously we win a game without scoring a goal from open play. It doesn't really feel like we played very well. So to answer your question, I don't think we did play well enough, but it remains to be seen.
I was hoping for a big rallying cry, Scott. I was hoping for you. Fergie's on the plane, Solskjaer's on the plane, Spirit of 99, let's go, boys.
Yeah, it's a different question, but I've always got confidence in our lads. I never predict us losing a game. I just wish we could have, as I say, my prediction was 3-1. We almost got that, but it didn't feel like our link-up play was as good as it needs to be tomorrow night in order for us to score a couple of goals.
You are right, mate, but let's remember as well, we have been a bit weird at home certainly in the Champions League and certainly in recent years. We go away, odds against us. We travel to our our special place, if you like, the new camp. Always elicits magical memories for United fans. We got Fergie there, we got Solskjaer there. Hopefully Eric will make another appearance. And mate, we've got a dream, haven't we? We've got a dream. Only 1-0 down. An early away goal, like you said to me the other day, everything changes.
It definitely does. It definitely does, which is why my prediction has us going through. I just wish we would have played a bit better yesterday. I wish Marcus Rashford or Anthony Martial could have got on the score sheet to give himself a bit of confidence.
Remember, Rash's had a rest. A number of other players have had a rest too. It will be a changed team over in the new camp. How do you expect us to line up, Bud? Obviously, De Gea in goal. Luke Shaw back in at left back.
Yep.
And then it gets
Smalling, Lindelof,
and then it gets complicated, doesn't it?
I think he's going to go with his 4-5 hybrid.
Yeah.
And have a young right centre back. He might even play Delot. It might even be the same back five that started the first leg. It remains to be seen if Delot's going to be on the left or right.
Yeah.
I think he actually did a pretty good job against Messi over there, and so
He did.
I think it could actually be the same way that we line up at the back.
Yeah, and then you expect the midfield, McTominay, Fred and Pogba again?
Yep, I would hope so. I think that's been the best trio we've had in the last few months. They play well with each other.
It's amazing, Scott. I was scribbling out my team the other day, and I went De Gea, the first name on the team sheet, and then I went, obviously Rashford had been rested. I went straight up to the top and I popped Rashford in, and then third on the sheet was Scott McTominay. Can you believe it? No, it wasn't. Third was Pogba. I do apologise. Third was Pogba and fourth was McTominay.
Yeah, I do believe it. He's been playing fantastic.
But isn't that incredible, though?
Yeah.
I mean, fair play to the lad. Mm-hmm. Absolutely unbelievable. And then, obviously, Rashford up top. Lukaku looks like he will do a job again.
That is who I predicted would play. If anything, I might prefer Martial, I think he's a better finisher. He's got a better acceleration, but I think Lukaku can do a good job as well.
Let's not forget what happened in Paris either.
Correct.
And also Lukaku, I don't think Barca enjoyed that very much in the first leg. Lukaku causing all sorts of bother for them. So I expect Lukaku, and then it's just a matter of that last man. And who do you expect that to be, pal?
I think Delo, no? I think we just named 11.
Yeah, so it depends. If we go for the 5, it's Delo. It just depends. I'm just wondering whether he might maybe go a traditional back 5. So Lindelof, Smalling, Jones, Shaw on the left, Delo on the right. Now, you would have thought you play Young for his experience, but in the first leg, he really was bad. McTominay, Fred, Pogba, and then Lukaku and Rashford. And you give Delo and Shaw more licence to push forward, of course. You get the extra man at the back. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because it just seemed that we don't want to go 2-0 down, do we?
Definitely not.
But Ollie is very, very hard to predict. I can put the skeleton of the team, but the cherries on top, I'm not sure.
I would think the back 5 is going to be the same way as we lined up on the home leg.
Yeah, you're probably right. I would have thought. And what's your prediction, pal? What's your score prediction? I know you got us going through. I know that for certain.
I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1.
2-1 to United, yeah.
To United. Fantastic stuff, mate. So we go through on away goals.
You know, I think that maybe a bit of one positive I could take from this weekend's game is if we do get a penalty and Pogba does step up to it, he's going to have confidence in this new style that he's got and hopefully he'll be able to stick it in the top corner.
Here's hoping, buddy. Yeah. Obviously, we've got Juve Ajax tomorrow night as well. You expect Juve to go through there, our old mate Ronaldo?
I do, yeah. I do.
And so it's looking like Liverpool in the semis, if we should prevail, buddy. One, obviously leading Porto, looks like they'll be waiting for us, mate.
Yeah, I just hope Porto give them a good game. I think they had a pretty easy game on Sunday. I think Chelsea were rubbish on Sunday. I just hope that they get properly tested.
Absolutely.
I'm actually looking forward to Spurs and City. I think that's actually going to be a bit of a bash. I actually think Spurs might go through, and I hope Spurs might go through anyway, and City can focus on the league.
Well, they do have the advantage, don't they? 1-0 up, and obviously away goals in their favour.
Yeah, but no Dele Alli, no Harry Kane, so it remains to be seen whether they can score a goal.
We will see, mate, but this week's all about just concentrating on us, isn't it? We're back in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. There's no time to worry too much about others. We need to do our job, get in the hat. Well, we already know we're playing. There's no hat. Get through, and we'll see what happens, bud.
Yeah, I can't believe how quickly it's come upon us now. It seems like 20 minutes ago we were playing the first leg, and now we've got to play them again.
It's incredible, mate. I obviously, with the West Ham match on Saturday evening, and then Sunday on the beach. Woke up this morning, and then it's tomorrow. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Started getting butterflies this morning.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Always enjoy a trip to the new camp, apart from in '94, but it'll be all right.
So it's Champions League night tomorrow, Reds. We travel in hope of another night like Paris. Thanks again, Scott.
Thank you, TC.
Cheers, Reds. I'll see you soon.
Ta-ra.